Hey there, I'm Kardino, and if you haven't already guessed by my channel, I'm a pretty big Nintendo fan. But one thing that I've always noticed is how the opinion on Nintendo, and thus their fanbase, have been seen by the rest of the video game industry. And as any businessman can tell you, a key role in that is how the company views itself. So today, that's what we'll be looking at, how Nintendo has changed over the years, and as a result, how they've been received, at least in North America. Without further ado, let's get started. I probably don't need to say this, but Nintendo is a weird company. Sure, they used to play the power game back in the days of Sega being a competitor, but for the most part, they mainly stuck to their own rules, for better or worse. But before I get ahead of myself, let's start from the beginning. And by that I mean when they released the GameCube, because I'm not gonna sit here and be the 20th one to tell you how Nintendo revolutionized video games. So as I was saying, it was the turn of the century. The N64 was on its way out, and the Big N was preparing to release its console for the 6th generation. Now at this time, Nintendo had developed this reputation as being mainly for kids. If I had to guess, this is mainly from Sega and Sony's marketing pushing themselves as a more mature console. Plus, it didn't help that almost all the games were basically cartoons. Sure, they were revolutionary, but even still, the darkest Nintendo games the industry paid attention to was Zelda Ocarina of Time. The arrival of the GameCube was Nintendo's chance to get back into the competition, and they knew it. They had this whole Space Rule demo which showed off Link and Ganon fighting in full 480p glory. They had a darker themed Mario game, and even a Metroid demo. It's very clear here that they were aiming to capture a more mature audience and trying to shake off their kiddie stereotype. In fact, they almost went too far before a certain Reggie Fils-Aimé put a stop to it. So after all their efforts, did they succeed? Well, only kinda. You see, while Nintendo's marketing team was the main group behind most of the stuff, they weren't the ones making the games. So while virtually all the GameCube games were really good, the most they did to their image was turn themselves into a publisher for all ages, and not the edgy company they wanted. Like, you have Luigi's Mansion and Metroid Prime, and on the other side of the table you have Zelda Wind Waker and Mario Kart Double Dash. These certainly did not help with Nintendo's external image of being for adults. In the end, this whole emo era of Nintendo is just kinda something we can look back at and laugh, but at least it was better than what would come next, what I would call Now, as I've established, Nintendo was pretty much cemented as a company for everyone back in the year 2006. They were producing games that didn't stray too far from their series, the hardcore fans were seeing new entries in almost all of their favorite series, and then Nintendo released the Wii. Now, the Wii U gets a lot of flack for its name, but I think everyone forgets just how dumb the name Wii is for a console in the first place. Anyway, it starts off with some great games. You get a new Paper Mario game, you get Twilight Princess, and you get Super Mario Galaxy, which, in my opinion, is still the pinnacle of the series. Even Wii Sports, as much as it appealed to casuals, was still a quality title, and one which even hardcore gamers could enjoy. Even the ads were pretty good, like the We Would Like to Play series. They were nothing to get amazed at, but still they were quality, for the time at least.
Remember how you always tilted the controller like handlebars when you played Excitebike? Well, now you're holding the steering wheel of a big damn truck.
And then, the change happened. You see, the point of the Wii wasn't just meant to appeal to the hardcore fans, but the blue ocean of casual fans as well. And it worked. Everyone was flocking to it, and Nintendo was rolling in the dough. So now Nintendo had a choice. They could either stick with the hardcore fans and make more of the high quality titles they're known for, or they could make more games to appeal to the casual fans and make a butt ton of cash. Well, I think we all know where that ended up, don't we? Over the course of a few years, Nintendo went from a company that competed with Microsoft and Sony to the corner where 10-year-olds could play bowling with their grandparents. Wii Fit Plus, Wii Sports Resort, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Kirby's Epic Yarn, all of these games were meant to appeal to the casual audience, even though they were certainly not what Nintendo fans wanted, even if some of them were quality. Emphasis on some. And you can see it in their ads too. Take the Mario Kart Wii ad. Now, the commercials in this series have always been funny. Double Dash especially comes to mind. But now you have this cowboy jackass who's like, Mario Kart Wii is fun for the whole family, yeehaw! And everyone just looks at it and dies a little inside when they think about how this is the same company that brought us Mario Galaxy. Or if you want the best example, just look at their E3 2008 press conference, where they tried announcing a bunch of casual garbage to an entire stadium full of hardcore Nintendo fans who weren't even interested.
It's called Wii Motion Plus.
Now, amongst this garbage, there were a couple games in there like DKC Returns and arguably Zelda Skyward Sword that showed Nintendo could still make quality products. But if you compare 2010 Nintendo to 2005 Nintendo, the differences are all too obvious. But eventually, a blessing in disguise was about to hit: the Wii U. At this point, Nintendo is sitting on a fortune, and it's just about time for a hardware upgrade. But here's the problem: with all the pandering Nintendo did to the casual audience, their name had become synonymous with the Wii. So if they released something new, they would risk losing their new audience. So in 2012, Nintendo announced a new controller for the Wii U. Now, there were a bunch of reasons why this thing failed, but its main issue circles back to what we've been talking about this whole time: the marketing and what Nintendo projected as their image. You see, it turns out that the Wii U wasn't just a controller for the Wii, it was actually a separate console, and one which Nintendo expected to sell really well at that. Unfortunately for them, the market they were still trying to appeal to had already moved on to things like mobile gaming, so all they were left with were their hardcore fans, and even they were feeling pretty salty. Basically, they had bought this new console hoping that Nintendo would make some quality games, only to be greeted with New Super Mario Bros. U and Super Mario 3D World, both of which were basically sequels that nobody asked for. And if we take a look at their commercials during this time, they were garbage. You had these kids telling their parents how they could all play together at the same time thanks to the Wii U gamepad. You had their cringe fest that was the Amiibo advertisement. You had that Splatoon commercial that essentially only existed to become a meme. Basically everywhere you looked, the marketing on this thing was just atrocious. So anyway, the Wii U was a failure. It barely sold half of what the GameCube did, and anyone who did have a Wii U was viewed as those people who play kids games by themselves, because the ads were so abominable. But little did anyone know, things were about to make a turn for the better. Now, when Nintendo announced the Switch, then only known as the NX, there were quite a few people who were skeptical, and rightfully so. I mean, Nintendo had gone from the company that made games for kids to a relatively niche subset of the gaming industry with hardcore fans, to a family-focused company aimed at convincing Uncle Joe to play New Super Mario Bros. For the 4th time in a row. But luckily, Nintendo realized their error and made some changes before it was too late. When they first unveiled it, everyone immediately noticed a difference. Gone were the annoying little kids from the commercials, replaced with young adults, college students, and only the occasional family. This all culminates in what might be one of the most important trailers ever, the release date announcement for Breath of the Wild. This right here is to date the single best video I've ever seen Nintendo put out. They knew what their fans wanted, they knew they had something people wanted, and they marketed it in just the right way to grab the attention of everyone in the video game industry. So now here we are, Nintendo has firmly established a balance between doing fun side projects that most casual fans will like, and relatively high production titles that will appeal to their core fan base. It took a while to get here, but we're at a point now where even openly calling yourself a fan of Mario games is once again a shameless act. Sure, the stigma will always be there, but there's only so much you can do. I suppose if there's anything I wish Nintendo would change, it's how they basically stopped having a personality. Back in the Wii U days, Nintendo Directs had skits in them which were oftentimes pretty hilarious.
Hey, is this Reggie's Nintendo 3DS? He's gonna be looking for this. Oh. Donuts. Come to Daddy.
Oh, great! Bill, you're fired.
But now it's about a clean presentation, which, while I suppose is more professional, seems like a wasted opportunity with a president literally named Doug Bowser. On the whole though, it's amazing to see how far Nintendo has come, and with more games coming down the pipeline as we speak, the future of Nintendo is looking better than ever. Hey, thanks for watching my video and making it all the way to the end. If you liked it, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who might find it interesting. Anyway, I don't have too much to add, so I'll just end things off by saying thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.